But yeah, so Angelo, thank you so much for jumping on today. I'm super excited to get into just your backstory, what you're going to be doing, to help even more people with business. But you mentioned just before we started that, if you believe in what you're doing, you should call you Jeej. So we're going to move away from Angelo. We're going to say Jeej.
Okay.
So how's it
Call
going?
me
Thank you
G.
for coming on. But yeah, how's your day
Thanks for
been
having
anyway?
me.
How's it going? All
Yeah, it's
good?
good. I'm up in my lake house. Just kind of in a crunch right now where I got some deadlines on some projects that I'm working on. My Clique platform being one of them. And so what I do
Yeah,
is when
yeah.
I really got to get work done, I separate myself from the family. I come up to this lake house, which is about 2.5 hours north of Toronto. And, there's nobody here to bug me. There's nobody here to distract me. And I can just dig down and work. And I had a big client presentation today, and that went really well. So for my staffing company.
Oh, awesome.
And so, yeah, I'm having a great day. And it's a
I was
beautiful
gonna
sunny
say
day.
there's a lot of wood. There's a lot of wood behind you, so I was thinking you're in a cabin or some sort of lake house, but awesome. But thank you obviously for taking the time. So I guess for the listeners that are looking at building their coaching business, right? They are looking to sort of transition online. They're looking to just scale. They may have hit that ceiling of how many clients they can see. It'd be great to just get a backstory of you yourself before you even got into coaching, because I know you've built a multi-million dollar company, right? So perhaps you could just share your story with that, your entrepreneurial journey, and then also how you transitioned into obviously the bet on yourself coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd be happy to share that. So I started, single mom, 5 kids, and came from nowhere, and really struggled. Um, got it, didn't have a lot of models or mentors in my life as I was growing up. And then when I got to high school, I finally found my first mentor. That's the truth. And it took that long. So befriended a good friend of mine, Mike Johnston, and his dad was president of, big brand companies like Walmart, Tip Top Tailors, Nygaard Fashion. The list goes
Wow.
on, but he started to kind of take me under his wing, and teach me a little bit about what life is, and that I was very cocky because I was involved in football and baseball and very full of myself because I was good at sports. And really it was, a lot of it was fake confidence. And he kind of taught me that and said like, hey, like you put up this big front about yourself, Ange, because really like you have a lot of things you're scared about. And he goes, one thing he taught me was in life there are talkers and there are doers. And, you got to be a doer, but you're a talker. And I was like, I'm not a talker. What are you talking about? I do. And he was like, no, you don't. You're full of crap. And so, anyways, I didn't sleep that night and I thought about it and thought about it. I was like, you know what? He's right. Like, I got to start really listening to this person because I think he's going to make me way better. And so he kind of like groomed me and helped me and polished me a lot more than what I was, because of where I grew up. And so, anyhow, that being said, I got into a family business right out of college because my dad had a heart attack and was unable to work in his business that he was partners with. And it was flooring and it was like tile and marble and granite. And I absolutely hated it. I mean, it just wasn't me. I loved working with family, but I absolutely hated the industry. But it was all I knew. So it turned out that they were not doing well when I came on. I didn't even know that. I was 22 years old. Their business failed. I got wrapped up in that. And then I had to start, fresh. So I became a professional poker player after that because my dad had taught me poker from where I was really young. And so now we're talking 1997 to 2003. I'm in pro poker. I'm dating my wife, but at the time I'm dating her, and we get
Yeah.
engaged. And she comes home one day from work. She was in speech therapy for young kids, like, preschool age kids. And she comes home.
So she's
I'm in the
she's yeah.
pool. I'm in the pool with her sister and her sister's nursing friends. And my wife comes home and she goes, you know what? Get out of the pool. You can't just sit here and swim all day with my sister and her friends. And she goes, you got to get a job. And I was like, okay. So I got into staffing. And, long story short, I got into staffing in sales. I brought in Procter and Gamble. I got charged with handling our research and motion, which was BlackBerry at the time account. And I grew my name, and the owner wanted to divest out of the business. And so he put me on this sweetheart earn-in deal, and I hit all his targets within 6 months, and I owned a staffing company. When I bought that staffing company, it was one office, $1 million in revenue. And I built it to 14 offices, $50 million in revenue over 2 countries. And so, yeah, it was just the right industry for me. And I learned by getting into staffing that passion is the most important thing in a job, because when you work in your passion, it's not a job. You don't wake up and go, oh God, I got to go to work today. You wake up and you're just excited to do what you do because you don't feel like you're working. You just feel like you're passionate. And I didn't own the business at that time. I was just working there, but that's how I felt, because I was helping people get new jobs and then asking them questions. And I was genuine. And my business grew because everybody we placed out to work genuinely knew that Ange cared about them. Jeej gave a crap, and
Yeah,
that's the way
yeah,
I raised my staff and taught my staff and to treat people. And now, and obviously, we got big, and back in the early days, I knew every temp that went out and worked for us. But now
yeah.
I don't know any of them. But
How
hopefully,
many
it
temps
carries.
have you got?
So on any given day, we can have just about 5 to 6,000 people working for us. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
serious, serious.
Now we
Wow.
hit peaks and valleys, but that's kind of like our running moving average would be 5,000 temps out a day. Yeah, so staffing went great, and then I stumbled across Forbes last summer. They came to me and asked me to write a book for them, and they loved my poker background mixed into becoming a successful businessman. They think that I have a very rare risk tolerance because of that, and they wanted me to kind of tell that story. And then as we got excuse me, got to know each other longer, they realized my story is much more than just poker and risk
Yeah,
tolerance. Single mom, 5 kids. It's a very
yeah.
genuine person, and through that, we got into April, and I hit a bit of a writer's block because I had some things going on in my life. I lost my little sister to cancer, who was 38 years old, and it really hit me hard when I lost her. And
Yeah.
so that changed me. It changed my outlook on life. It changed me, and the book kind of got affected by that. But Forbes came to me and they said, you are an online ghost. This is a problem. We can't market an online
Yeah.
ghost. And I said, okay, I'll start Instagram. So I started Instagram in April. It grew to over 5,000 followers, which,
Already.
for me, I was like, wow, who the hell wants to listen to a 51-year-old, overweight loser like me, right? And so, but it resonated because, I'm doing a charity thing for dyslexia. I'm doing a charity thing for single moms because that's the closest thing to my heart. And then all of a sudden, I went and guested on 2 podcasts out in Vegas. One of them was about being a whale in Vegas. As
Yeah.
part of these guys that I know out of LA. They have their own studio, it was called "Scared Money Don't Make Money." And I went on that podcast. Then I went on another one affiliated with those guys with a pro golfer, Drive and Thrive, and it was a business golf podcast. And then I got a producer approached me, and he was like, "You need to do your own show. You absolutely need to do your own show. You
I've
are
seen some of the episodes. Awesome already.
Thank you. So that's, yeah, where it got. And then from that, all of a sudden somebody calls me and says, "Hey, have you ever thought about coaching?" And I was like, "No." I mean, I got so much going on, but I've always had this thing in me where I just love to help people, right? It's like a real thing. And I'm addicted to it. And I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Well, my kid is a little trouble. They're in their mid-20s. They don't have a lot of direction. Would you meet with them?" I said, "Of course I will. Yeah, of course I will." So I did, and it went amazing. And then another person reached out to me, and another one, and I all of a sudden have 7 people and 8 people, and I'm like, okay, wait a second here. I got to do something with this, right? So I thought, okay, I have the podcast as an avenue. I was on a season break for the summer, anyways. And then I said, I got to really do something with this coaching because my passion is there. I love it. Like, I'm obsessed with it. And the feedback I was getting from these organic people that came to me was so good that I thought, okay. So I went on this site. I started building a course. I started, looking at things. And then you guys reached out to me at Cleek, and it was just like, in life, sometimes you meet people and you look back and you say, I was meant to meet Ben and Ian. They,
Yeah.
like, it was
Yeah.
just an
Yeah.
instant warmth. And so at that
Yeah.
point, it didn't matter to me about what website, what app, because I've always been big on, if I'm working with the right people, we'll figure the rest out together.
Yeah.
And then I got on your guys' platform and I was like, this is actually way better than the one I was like blocking competition, but I was like, this is a huge bonus for me. I can partner with Cleek. It's going to be way better for me. I can work with, someone like Ben, the founder, and I'm going to make this thing awesome. And I've just really, you guys migrated my course in. We're just about ready to launch it. And I really think this is going to grow big for me. And I'm just super
No, I'm
excited.
excited. But I mean, the main thing, you did all the work. So, you with the partner program that we pitched you on, you obviously accepted. But we usually put a launch team around you, and you sort of built it all yourself. So, I mean, that's hats off to you,
Well,
which is awesome.
you've helped, and Jafal has been unbelievable. She's just like, so
She's a
responsive,
dream. Yeah,
so quick. Anything I mean, she made a Google sheet for me because I couldn't make one, like, and that's outside of her probably help
that's
zone, but
awesome.
she did it for me, and and it was no questions asked. It was her idea, and that's when I just said to myself, yeah, I got the right people here, So that
Yeah,
platform is, I'm really really excited to get that course. I did a teaser
absolutely.
Instagram on it last week, and it got 26,000 views, and I thought to myself, wow. And I've got over 100 people that reached out to me that are like, where do I sign on? Because I didn't put the link to the website
Yeah,
on it.
where to
I
do
didn't even
it.
put it on because I
Wow.
don't want to release it yet. I'm not fully
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not fully ready. So, but I think by Friday that thing's going to be live and ready to go.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. I mean, so going back to your story, I mean, what a story, by the way. Like, it's incredible when you really think about, your background and all the way through. You sort of like had obviously you called him a mentor, but it sounds like also some coaching along the way in the early days as well, right? I mean, do you think that has sort of also sort of molded why you want to get into coaching,
It is. It
and
is.
your business as well?
Definitely. I got a lot of coaching from obviously my mentor, Chris Johnston. He's been first and foremost for me. Um, and, he's going through a battle of his own right now. So it's a little emotional for me to talk about him, but
Yeah.
I just love that man. But also football coaches along the way, because I played a very high level football in Canada. It's not our main sport. Hockey is, everybody knows that. But like, there were some men that changed my perception. And I was this scared. I was always the smallest kid on every single team that I played on. I was 5'6" and 130 pounds, And like you had to weigh 140 pounds just to be able to play because they thought it was too dangerous. And I had friends that would
Yeah.
like put their foot on the back of the scale just so I could play because I wasn't heavy enough, So it was hard to play such a physical sport as the smallest
Yeah.
person but I also learned, I had one coach turn to me, John Gainham, and he said to me, what are you scared of? And I was like, well, look how big that other team is. And he goes, they all put their pants on the same way that you do every day. There's no difference, brother. He's like, just
Yeah.
go out there and be you. And so I learned a lot of things in the 16 years of playing football. I went through 2 ACL tears and 8 knee surgeries and things like that. And so that's when coaching started to organically come to me on the life and business side of things. I
Yeah.
said to myself, I have, I think, so much to give to people. And it would be a life crime if I didn't do it because so many people gave to me.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm learning early is you can't coach the uncoachable. The people you're coaching, they got to actually want to be coached, right?
Yeah.
And as my
Yeah.
numbers of people grow higher, I got to be very mindful of, well, I'm not going to put my attention because you know what, I'll just advertise it right now. Yeah, it costs money, but if you need it
Mm.
free, I'm doing it free because I'm not
Yeah.
saying no to anybody. And
Yeah.
and, and,
Yeah.
and like if I feel like my reason for getting into coaching is very simple. It was one thing and one thing only. You know, if I can find one more Angelo and change their life, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it fails everywhere else. If it changes one person's life, then I'm super happy. That's what I'm out here for. This isn't about making a bunch of money and getting. This is why I wrote the book too. I'm not, looking
Yeah.
for speaking engagements, and I don't want any of that. I just want to help somebody.
Yeah.
And when I get like a DM back, in Instagram saying like, you are literally changing my life. Like I cry when I read those, they're so
Yeah.
amazing. The feedback
It's
I'm getting from
powerful.
the people I'm working with, or even just somebody watches a video and they go, wow, like I'm learning so much from you and you don't even know you're teaching me. And so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the best way to coach people is to be organic in your teaching and real because anybody can go up and listen to a bunch of bull crap that everybody's got out on the internet right now.
Yeah.
That's not real.
And there's
What's
so much
real?
of it, right?
There's so much of it. And what I look at is like, I think what makes me unique is I'm not afraid to talk about my challenges in life. I don't hide them. It's not like me pounding my chest saying like Angelo's the best at everything. I'm not. I make more
Yeah.
mistakes than I do right decisions, right? My
Yeah.
dad always used to teach me one thing. There is more than one right way to accomplish a goal.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only way that is going to definitely fail is inaction. So like my way may work for one person but not another one, but it doesn't mean their way's not right also. But I will talk about my failures because I think I learned more lessons in my failures than I did in my successes. And I
Yeah.
think that's true
Yeah.
of anything, sports,
It is. It
school,
is.
anything.
I think the interesting thing, yeah, sport. I used to play sport as well for out of school, and I think that definitely, there's times in your life, right, where you have those pivotal changes. A lot of people always talk about the first 3 years of a kid's life, etc. I'm going through that with my daughter, but for sure, there's other moments that you have those people that, or those experiences that really change how you think about things, how you put yourself forwards, how you build confidence, how you maybe don't have confidence. So it's super interesting that you've gone through that and then obviously had the poker experience, which is fascinating. I mean, I would love to have you teach me, but because you're a professional. But I guess one thing that I noticed from us first working together with you was straight off the bat, you were already creating this sort of strategy around your app that you hadn't even, I don't think you'd even had login, and you'd already created a post on Instagram about our partnership, tagged us, and it was actually our marketing team that weren't the ones that were accepting for it to go out. And so I guess one question that I know loads of coaches will have, entrepreneurs will have, is like, you've got on Instagram since April and you've already created this following. You've got this YouTube channel that's already a proper YouTube channel. There are coaches out there, entrepreneurs out there that have been doing this for years and they're trying to dip their toe and they get, knocked back. What is it that you would say is, you talked about inaction, but if there was some tips on how someone looking at this can grow their audience or start to build that personal brand online, what would it be?
Yeah, I think the three things that I would say would be, first off, don't be afraid to fail, you know, and it's a mindset, right? It's just like, look, at not everybody's going to love you, not everybody's going to like your stuff, and not everyone's going to be interested in it. It doesn't mean that it's not valuable, right? And so just jump into it, and that's what I did. I just jumped into Instagram, I just jumped into YouTube. And then the second thing I did was I was just my genuine self. I didn't try to be somebody that I'm not. I didn't try to be, likable. I didn't try to be someone that everybody looked up to. I didn't try to look any better than me. I don't even know how to use a filter. There's no such thing in my world. This is what I look like every day, you know? And so I think that, just being comfortable in your own skin is the second thing. And when you jump in, just get in there. And then the third thing I would say is, you got to do trial by error with these apps and social media platforms because you don't know what's going to work. Like my biggest video is 83,000 views, which is talking about how God owes me an explanation about my sister passing away. I didn't think that would get 80,000 views,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
did. And you know why it was? Because it was genuine, because everybody else has lived that battle. And so what I
yeah,
think is, whatever you're trying to get across on coaching, social media, creator, whatever it is, you pick that, but you got to show your real life also. Because
yeah.
nobody engages with fake. They do
No,
for a very short time, but then they're gone. And if you just let people learn who you really are and you're comfortable, again, back to that, comfortable in your own skin, people are going to gravitate to you. You're going to get a following. It is going to work, definitely. And that's, so I built it just organically, just by luck. And I'm really lucky in that I got like that 15 to 25-year-old group that you know what? They grew up in a different world than I did. They're a
yeah,
little bit lost, and they need someone guidance. And when you get on YouTube, all of a sudden they trust you. Like
yeah,
I can tell them the
yeah.
same thing in a restaurant, they don't want to hear it. But as soon as, like, my niece sees me on YouTube, she's like, Uncle Ange, I got a problem at school. Can I talk to you about it? Like, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's just that. That's just that.
It's almost like it's writer's block, stroke content block, isn't it? That a lot of I guess just digital entrepreneurs. I have it. You wonder, is it going to be good enough? Is there value and all that sort of stuff? But it seems like you're just shooting from the heart, and like it's authentic and it's about a certain topic. I mean, do you plan any of your content? Obviously your podcast is planned, but do you plan any content? Do you have, I do it on Thursdays, is there any structure around it?
Because the guests want to feel comfortable. I'm fine talking about whatever comes up that day, right? But guests
Yeah.
usually, if I invite a guest, they say, okay, what are we going to talk about? So it's kind of funny because I've done 5 episodes and then we took a break because we got an agent now. We're kind of growing the
Yeah.
production team, and so I send out this list, kind of like you sent me, and I have it beside me when we do the podcast. Can I tell you, we've never gone through the list in one of the
Same.
episodes. It's
It's closed.
hilarious. Yeah. And so it just gives you that like pre-episode confidence. But the truth is yes, do I do planning? No. I do not sit there and go, I should try and do X or Y and post it on Instagram because I think it'll be awesome. I think that's where people will fail. I think you need to do generic and go, oh my God, I ran into this lady at the airport today and here's what we talked about. I got to do a post about that, right?
Yeah.
Or like the universe reconnects me with somebody I met at a pool in Vegas 15 years ago. She sees my podcast and reaches out to me and says, Angelo, I have a son with dyslexia. You need to take on dyslexia. And I'm like, okay, that's a great idea. That gives you content. So what I would say is when you're in a content block, and I've been in one for about 2 weeks, because I went through a tough time where like I disconnected with a very good friend of mine. That really hurt me. And I didn't really, when you're hurt inside, it's hard to come up with content, right? You got to be in the right
Absolutely.
frame of mind. But then I realized like, okay, I can't let being hurt block me, right? I gotta be me. So what I do is I just have your eyes in tune to the world around you. If you're looking for content, you're in a content block, talk to people. Talk
Yeah.
to the average Joe. So I got into a content block. Guess what? I go to Starbucks that morning. I don't know if they have Starbucks in the UK. I would assume they do.
Yeah, we do,
Okay,
unfortunately. Not a
it's a
massive
great
fan.
place, but it's not my favorite place. I'm a coffee like obsessive person. So I
So,
go to Starbucks one morning, and this guy walks in, and he starts yelling at the barista. And my latte's not perfect. I want it remade and all this stuff. And like, of course, I'm not the type of person that tolerates anybody talking down to people making average wages or less. So I said, like, dude, like, it's a coffee, bro. Chill out. He
yeah.
was this big, like, muscular.
Yeah.
Everyone would think I would stand up to him, but I did. And he was like, I was like, it's just a coffee. I'll buy you another one. It's not going to cost you a darn thing. But then I went home that day and I was like, I wonder across the world how many times a day a barista gets berated.
Yeah.
I was in a podcast, I brought it up, and all of a sudden just started naturally telling that story. All of a sudden I had this content that got me 60,000 views in a day, and it was called Stop Berating Baristas. So I was in a content block. I just took a regular situation that happened in my daily life that day and turned it into 60,000 views. So was I looking for content? No, but did it come to me? Yes. And like, there's a country music guy I love, Tucker Wetmore, right now. He's like one of my, I feel like this guy is like, if there wasn't already Morgan Wallen, this guy would be Morgan Wallen. Like he really would. He's better. I think, no offense to Morgan Wallen, I love him, but this guy's better, And so he has a song that's like, yeah, I like what I find when I'm not looking. And that I think is so true in all of our lives, that you find the best things in life when you're not looking for them. So don't go out there looking for content. But I'm very big. I'm reading a book right now called Signs, and it's about finding signs in the universe from lost ones like my sister, are just regular signs. You have these universe angels that are helping you, and if you're in tune to the universe, it will give you your content. It actually shows it to you every day. You just got to be ready to hear it, right? Don't go looking for it.
Yeah.
It's already there coming to you.
No, I think, and it's like when you're gonna you want to get a new car or something like that, and then all you see is the car that you thought about getting, right? It's that whole thing. But it's interesting because I
Reticular,
speak to
it's your brain's reticular. There's a real good medical term for it, but that's what it is.
yeah, and you just notice it. But I think speaking to a lot of coaches that have this same problem of, content block, whatever you want to call it. I think the interesting thing about coaching and then creating content is that, as a coach all day long, you're using your brain in a way of thinking about how to ask better questions and analyzing someone else's world. And then, that's the opposite part of the brain to, I've now got to be creative to just create some content that might resonate with someone. And I think that's also a bit of a block. And I think, like you said, if you're in that world of, right, I'm thinking content and just going out and speaking to people and open to it, yeah, for sure. That seems, I'm going to start using that for sure. Maybe not go to Starbucks because I don't like the coffee, but
Yeah, I don't love their coffee either, but I was just there that day. It was convenient. But I think the other thing too that coaches should really embrace right now is AI, right? And
yeah,
Clique has an amazing AI function right in its own app for us, right? So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you're the one that taught it to me. So like people
yeah,
need to, instead of being embarrassed about AI, embrace AI and not be afraid of it, because I actually took a couple courses on how to
mm,
properly prompt AI, because I
yeah,
realized that like I can't figure out all these things myself, like, but AI can help me, and it's still my content, it's still my words. AI just makes them better, and I'm not afraid to admit
yeah.
that, because guess what? I'm a grammatical idiot. I couldn't have written a course for Clique, for my Clique platform, but definitely I have all the content. I can talk to AI and let it write it. So
Yeah.
I think people need to really embrace AI, because and I'm telling my young kids, it's funny because I've a daughter who just started college and another daughter who's just started high school. And, the teachers are working so hard to try to bust them using AI in their essays and in their work. And I'm thinking, man, the school board in Canada, because I'll only speak to the ones I know about, they've got it all wrong. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be trying to bust kids for using AI. We should be incorporating AI into our lesson planning. And because that's the future. It's like, back in the old days when I was at school, they'd say you can't have a calculator for a math test. Guess
Yeah.
what? Nobody does manual division and multiplication anymore. We all have a calculator on our phone, right? And AI,
It's
like,
so true.
we're in the infant stages of AI right now. We're literally one step into a marathon with where AI is going to end up. It's like when the internet came out and everyone was calling it the information highway. Like, so to discourage kids, and where I'm coming from is saying, like, embrace it and learn it, because it'll just get better and teach you to be better, right? So I'm telling my kids, like, use it and learn it, because if you don't learn AI within the next 5 years, anybody in any business, you are going to be at a major disadvantage to your competition. And I don't care what business
Absolutely.
you're in, you are going to be at a disadvantage. So, yeah, you want to hate on AI and laugh at people like me that use it, go right ahead. But 5 years from now, I'm going to be so far ahead of you, I'm going to be the one laughing. Maybe I'm going to be on some boat in the UK hanging out with you, like that would be cool.
Yeah, the weather's not there for that. But yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not using AI in some respect, whether that be for your accounting or, like you said, content creation, you literally are you're losing every day. As in progression, which is
Like I'll tell
scary.
you what sold me on AI, and it was sports. It was golf, because I
Yeah,
love to play competitive golf. Well, it's not real competitive golf, but it's at my golf club, right? And I had member guests coming up with this guy who's 70 years old, and he was my guest, and I just idolized this person because he has helped me get 6 people into a hospice for care. And
yeah,
to me, that's like probably the most important thing at the end of life, right? And so I wanted to really perform well for him, but my game was bad because I'm too busy and I haven't been playing much. And I typed into ChatGPT. I just said, like, I'm hitting my irons thin all the time. And it was like instant response. If you're hitting your irons thin, Ange, it's this, and that. And I was like, oh my God, it's totally that. And I go out a day later, play member guest, and we win member guest, 45-hole golf tournament, me and this guy, Uncle V. And I just said to myself, I didn't have time to go get a golf lesson or have a coach, but like I typed that into ChatGPT and it fixed my irons in a day. Like, so why
crazy.
wouldn't I use that, right?
No, I mean, my previous world to click was, I was a trainer, I was a health coach, and now literally I've been going on to ChatGPT. I'll take a photo of my food, I'll take a photo of the equipment in front of me, give me a workout for now, and it's a game changer. And that's just the first
Okay.
phase, like you said.
Yeah, we're just
So
a
I guess we are. So tell us a bit more about your app, your offering, and how what you want to offer to your end user, your
yeah,
clients, and
yeah.
where is
So
it going to go?
ideally, yep. And ideally, my app is on Cleek is going to have a 3 level program, and it's going to have a monthly subscription at $44.95, which is going to get you access to my 3 courses, which we're releasing the first one. It's called BetMate. It's getting to BetMate, so it's about changing the mindset of people to get to the point that they can make that bet on themselves, start their own business, become a trainer, become whatever their goal is. We got to get your mindset there first, right? So that's the first course, and then second course is called Bet Building, and all my merch kind of matches these things. But that's when, okay, I already made the bet on myself. I've opened the company, and now I'm going to start building that company, and that's a long phase for some, or it's a short phase for others. So there's going to be a couple courses in the bet building, and we're going to get more into the business specifics of things. And then we got Bet Built One. Like, okay, I bet myself, I built my company. Now I won. The company's actually running. I got employees. I'm paying them. My bills are all paid. The government's all paid. Everything's good. Now what? Now's when you need a book like Good to Great, right? Jim Collins. That was one of the biggest books that influenced me in my business
Fantastic
career,
book. Yeah,
because he
yeah, yeah.
mentioned something in that book called 20 Mile March. And I was like the opposite of that. I was like working 20
Yeah,
hours
I
one
remember
day and
that
working
bit.
an hour the next day. And then I read that book and I was like, oh my God, 20 Mile March. I'm just going to do a 20-mile march every day of my life right now. And so, anyways, I'll have that course. And then after that, I want to get into some group live stream coaching with people. That will be part of the initial membership. They'll get 1 or 2 a month of that. And then on the third phase is going to be like more what I call my very really high value people that want a lot of my time, right? And they're really in that building phase, and they're willing to pay for it. It's my master's level coaching, and so they'll get constant one-on-one live stream with me through the Cleek platform. Probably, if they
That's
need it
awesome.
once a week, it'll be once a week. If they need it twice a week, it'll be twice a week. If they need it once a quarter, so 3 levels of membership. But of course,
Yeah.
because I'm brand new and just building my content and building my courses, I'm starting, this Friday with just the first course, which is getting your mindset to bet made. I'm charging only $44.95 for that course, and I think it's probably worth $300 or $400 in my opinion. And so I think it's a good value. And then yeah, so that's where I'm going with it. That's the plan right now. And tons
No,
of video
amazing.
on there supporting things, and I'm sure once I really start having people in the platform, it's just going to grow from there, because I'm going to take feedback and make it just better.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Obviously the offering, I've seen it, is going to be amazing. You're using that tiered membership that we've just released at Click. But how are you thinking about marketing it? I guess that would be, how are you going to grow it? Are you thinking about thousands of members? Is this just
Yeah,
10 to 50?
you know,
How are you going to go about marketing it?
I'm hoping to have a community, right, which Cleek allows me to do. I'm hoping to have first and foremost a generic organic community of people that want to help each other, because it's not just my words. Like, they're not a gospel. We need a community of people supporting each other, and that can be hopefully thousands, right? Because everybody needs help from each other, and when you're doing the same battle as somebody else, it's so much easier to be involved in that, right? And then from there, my goal is to probably have 1,000 to 2,000 monthly members paying for the stuff they need, and using the question part in the Cleek app. They ask me anything, and then getting some support from me by text and email, because I want to make sure it's good support, right? And then
Yeah.
from there, I'm hoping to have 50 to 100 people in my master's level, right? And then once
Hmm.
they're through that and done with me, then they just, it's like the Weight Watchers program, where you're the lifetime member. You only have to go once a quarter to weigh in, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of like that, and that's kind of where I envision it going and what I want. Because at the same point, I don't want people that are uncoachable. If once I see someone's uncoachable, I'm the guy that's going to hold the mirror up to them right away. And I'm never going to apologize for holding the mirror up to somebody, because if they can't face themselves in the mirror, they can't face anybody. you know, because you got to love yourself before anybody else will love you, right? And that's the
Yeah.
first thing. It's super, super important. And I'm going to weed out those people because I'm not selfishly for me.
Yeah.
The
But for
minute
them,
I think
for them.
someone's uncoachable, for them, hey, go fix
Yeah.
yourself first, then come back to me. And if you think I can fix you, I'll keep working with you. But you got to start listening, man. But because of the other people in the community that need my time, why would I waste it on somebody who's uncoachable that won't look themselves in the mirror when I got all these other people that want my time, that actually want to make themselves better? I am going to focus on them 100% of my time, right? So that's where I'm looking to grow this thing. Like,
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And I think just again to come back that and you may, I mean, you clearly know that you're doing it, but a lot of the coaches listening, it's strategy, right? You clearly know, even if it's ballpark figures, right? I'm going to have 1,000, 2,000 here. I'm going to have 50, 100 here. And I think that's the takeaway is that you have a vision in your head of what this potentially can be. And even if you hit 50% of that, I'm sure you'd be, you'd probably be happy. And also
if
that
we're
it's not
going for
a
the
million
sun and we hit
followers,
the
right?
moon, yeah, we go for the
Yeah.
sun and we hit the moon, we're pretty darn happy still, right?
Yeah.
And about having the vision, just to piggyback on your point, Ben, you
Mm.
know, what Chris Johnston, my mentor, taught me was nothing in business happens by accident. You don't get great by getting lucky or by accident, right? And good to great. Everybody gets equal good luck and everybody gets equal bad luck. It's about being ready to capitalize on your good luck and being ready to absorb your bad luck, right? And a lot of us, when we get bad luck, we go, oh my God, there's nothing good ever happens for me. It's just terrible. And you know what? It's not true. You get equal good and equal bad. It's what you do with the two, right?
So
That's the
true.
important thing.
Yeah.
And Chris taught me, you start at the end. Where do you
Hmm.
want to be? And write that down. Let's write it down right now. You new coaches, where do you want, like that question that Ben just asked me, where do you want your platform to end up? Write it down. And then let's work backwards from there. And when you're coming backwards, like looking at a golf hole after you finish it, you go to the green and look back and you go, oh my God, I played it. But you look at it in front of you where the course designer is trying to trick your eye. Of course, it looks impossible. You look backwards
Yeah.
and you go, yeah, it wasn't that bad, right? And so I never
Yeah.
thought about that in life. If I didn't have him as
Mm.
a mentor, I would. So when I started building Prodigy, I looked and said, where do we want to end up? And I just worked backwards and everything became a lot easier. And I'm doing the same thing with the Cleek platform. I started with
Yeah.
where do I want it to end? And I'm working backwards now.
Yeah, it's
That's
super powerful, man. I mean, it's been great to just hear your approach to things, and it's simple when you really break it down, right? Like think about what you want to do, and so many of us, especially coaches, do procrastinate or think, oh, do I need 1 million followers for this? No. 50 people in a mastermind, you're doing well. So I guess final question from me, Angelo. Let's say a coach that still hasn't taken the leap.
yeah.
What would be the best advice for them?
Well, I'll tell you right now, first thing they can do is take my mindset course, Getting to Bet Made, because that's going to get them in the mindset to bet on themselves. The second set would be to start talking to some other people that have done it, right? That's where you can learn from them what was
Absolutely.
easy, what was hard, and then maybe realize if it's for you or not. And if it's not for you, that's fine. It's okay. But if it is for you, don't let your own fear hold you back. You know, if you
Yeah.
don't make the bet, you cannot win. You got to be able
Yes.
to make that bet on yourself or you cannot win. It's impossible to win. So that's what I would say is just take the dive and start working and let it come to you naturally and you will find your path. But the second you say I don't have the passion for this, get out of it. Get out of it. But if you see that passion in yourself, do not be afraid to bet on yourself and do this because get into Cleek, get working with the team. They will help you get your thing up and going, just like they have with me. And you're going to find that it was way easier than you thought.
Thank you, Angelo. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and jumping on the show.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks for all the support you guys have given me to get this dream of mine off the ground. I appreciate it so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Cheech. Speak to you soon.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
See you, Ben.